hit start. I don't care.
I already did. Go
It
ahead and
reminds
promote
me, I
yourself.
wrote a story. If you haven't read it yet, you might like.
What's that?
I've been doing this thing. There's this sister subreddit to the one that I moderate called Writing Prompts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all manner of writing prompts, everything from established universe to they give you an image and tell you to write a story and so on and so forth. So I wrote a story based on the prompt, Batman is on trial as Bruce Wayne, when all of a sudden the Joker shows up to defend him. That's the prompt. I'll get the exact name of the prompt because it's more eloquent than that. But, yeah, God, scroll through my own crap here. I do a lot of writing. Okay. Batman is arrested. The day of his trial, the Joker shows up to defend him. That's the writing prompt. And then I proceeded to write a, 1,000-word story detailing that, and it was insanely popular. The number one comment that everybody said was like, man, I could really hear Mark Hamill in those Joker lines. Or I could really hear Kevin Conroy in those Batman lines. And I'm sitting there going, any comic book fan that actually reads this is going to know what I'm ripping off.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know, man. I maintain that there should be no other person voicing the Joker than Mark Hamill. I mean, he's got Arkham right in his name.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that and, oh, God, does he do it well.
Although I got to say, man, no spoilers or anything, but Jared Leto is he was rather impressive in that film, man. Then again, I'm of the unpopular opinion that Heath Ledger actually made a pretty terrible Joker.
So you actually watched The Dark Knight?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. It's Batman. If there's a DC movie in theaters, I'll go.
That was my response to Heath Ledger being a terrible Joker. Oh, you actually watched the movie?
Oh yeah.
I have several unpopular opinions whenever it comes to movies and music, so I can relate.
Yeah, as long as you don't hate The Big Lebowski, we're good.
I've gone as him for Halloween once or twice, but no. Okay. No, I dislike Nirvana. I think most of the quintessential 90s movies suck.
Such as?
Empire Records.
Oh, come on. That movie's actually in probably my top 10. Empire Records.
It doesn't resonate with me. I was a different person in the 90s. Like, in my high school yearbook, I'm wearing a three-piece business suit with a shaved head looking like a future Lex Luthor. Christ, I was a young Republican.
Dude, I was in high school, and they featured Gwar in the movie. I was sold. I
didn't start listening to Gwar until 2004.
Wow. My first exposure to him was seeing him live in high school in Memphis. I went to see him at the New Daisy, and I was not prepared because I walked in. The only Gwar I'd been exposed to
at the New Daisy.
Yeah. But the only Gwar I'd been exposed to at that point was like the 2 minutes or whatever they played on Beavis and Butthead on like one episode.
That's a venue. I heard they closed it down.
Yeah. Tax evasion or tax issues or something.
No, I got to see an OTEP show there once.
Nice. I got to see, this will show my age, but I got to see Tool there on the Opiate tour.
Well, I got to see Tool in Denver back in 2007, so I mean, that's not really showing age.
Oh, no, Opiate tour? That's what, 97?
Oh, God, it's showing your age. Big deal. I'm not in a much better boat. You're only a few years older than me.
True. But I also have a kid, which has aged me.
Yeah, I don't have kids. I just have ex-wives.
Yeah, I got a couple of those.
Divorce is so good that I did it twice.
Yeah, I got a couple of those. I bet you none of your...
Number 3?
Hell no.
Bet you ain't had to file for divorce and include an affidavit testifying you're not the father of the child.
Yeah. Came close to having to do that with the second one.
Wow.
We were legally separated within 30 days of breaking apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
She contested, because she lived in a state where she could do that. She contested the divorce for 8 years.
Good Lord.
In the process, she moved in with a new guy and had 3 kids.
And there are some states that will, that will screw you on that.
Yeah, luckily for me, she moved to Kansas.
Mm.
So while she could contest the divorce, the fact that she was living with another man and had 3 kids didn't favor well for her.
True.
Normally, I hate Sam Brownback, but whenever I got notice that I was divorced, I was like, I love you, you Republican bastard.
So apparently we have 2 viewers right now.
2 viewers.
Oh my God. There are people home on Saturday night.
Is there a link I can give people for this?
Yeah. Let me, honestly, the links are usually all on the Facebook page.
That I never pay attention to. 1 second.
Hold on. For whatever reason, it doesn't want me to. There we go.
Okay, here.
All right, I'm going on the Facebook page now. And posting the link. It's a Google Plus event, apparently. I don't know why it's not streaming in YouTube, but I barely had time. I walked in the door, grabbed a drink, and pretty much sat down to do this. So, and it's freaking hot out there.
It shows us as being live.
Yep, we are. I know one of the viewers is my roommate.
Well, let's get us some viewers. Okay. Let's see. I've got 1,000 fans on Facebook. Let's see who's awake.
We should also suggest some kind of story thing or story idea for your subreddit.
Well, see, it's not my subreddit per se. It's just I'm one of the active moderators out of the 20 people who run it.
Right. So you could post suggestions.
I could.
Anyone up?
1 second.
And if I had that many Facebook friends, I would lose my mind.
They're not friends. They're fans.
Ah, that page. I don't know why I follow that.
Me either.
Erie said the other day, Erie Locke, who was on the last episode, he said on Facebook the other day that something to the effect of you can either be a friend or you can be a fan.
Yeah.
But that's not always true because I didn't know who Erie was the first time I saw his band play. And I just reached out to him on Facebook randomly. And
yeah, I've got a few stories like that. Like back in the MySpace days, I met a few celebs that way.
Mm.
That's how I can tell you without prejudice that Marilyn Manson is a dickhead.
Let's see, I'm Facebook friends with 4 cast members of Clerks.
Nice.
And Christopher Titus actually follows me on Twitter, which that freaked me out.
The people see, I don't have very many followers on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
But then I look at the people who follow me and I'm like, the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah, don't ever follow any type of model or pop celebrity or anything like that, or else you'll get a whole bunch of followers you don't even want.
Yeah, my Twitter is just how I interact with other people in the horror industry because they're all on Twitter. Okay, cool. I'll promote myself here. And it works. But then some of the people that you get, it's like, I see that you know so-and-so and I'm a big fan, direct message. Block. It's like, I'm so glad my Facebook privacy settings are what they are because if somebody could see my friends list, that wasn't like a friend of a friend,
Mm-hmm.
then, well, they'd be like, wait, is that who I think it is? I can stalk them now.
Yeah, I don't do any stalking. I did kind of once get into a little bit of an altercation with Margaret Cho, of all people.
What, did you have an opinion?
Yeah, I basically stated she was going on this tear about hate crimes and some, I forget what the tragedy was. This was a couple years back, but she basically stated that they should have harsher penalties. I was like, you can't really enforce that because then you're getting into an area of thought crime. You know, you can't say, well, the intent was this without penalizing the intent, which is nothing more than thought. I think all violent crime should have harsh penalties, regardless of why. Because ultimately it's the same outcome for the victim. And she did not like that opinion. So.
Well, when it comes to interacting with famous people on Facebook, I think my favorite was whenever I got into it with Anne Rice.
Were you bitching about the quality of her books?
I'm a huge fan.
Even the Jesus books?
Not so much. Just the vampires and the witches.
Yeah.
Okay? I couldn't give a fuck less about Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, no, we're not going to go there. But we got to arguing over she got to arguing with some people on her page about which show was better, BBC's Sherlock or Elementary.
Oh, Sherlock.
And she took the side of Elementary. And I patiently and respectfully implied that she was going senile in her old age if she thought that, you know, Johnny Williams, or what was his name? Johnny something or other.
Dude from Hackers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Johnny was in any way the actor that Benedict Cumberbatch was.
He was pretty badass in Hackers. Nothing since, but he had that
that one movie with LL Cool J. You know the one I'm talking about where they're in the FBI and they're on that island, Val Kilmer?
Oh, yeah, I don't think I ever saw that whole thing. I caught part of it while I was
He played a serial killer that was an FBI profiler, and it was decent. Johnny Lee Miller.
That's his name, yeah.
And the thing is I've watched Elementary, and it's not terrible. It's not a bad show. As far as an American interpretation of Sherlock Holmes being a heroin addict and that Dr. Watson is Lucy Liu, who's also his, like, you know, sobriety coach or whatever. Okay, I can see that as an adaptation in the modern era. Fine, whatever the fuck it, that's fine. Treatment of the source material, again, not terrible. I've seen some very bad American adaptations of British stuff. But saying that the American version is better than the British version, you have to be smoking crack. I mean, the hell. So I got into it with her, and her response was, "You are being unnecessarily pedantic and pretentious for no reason. It's just a TV show." I was like, one of my favorite authors just called me unnecessarily pedantic and pretentious. Score.
I once got called pedantic by Chris Hardwick. That was, yeah. He was on this pro-organic tear.
Oh, Jesus.
Once, and I just kind of after that I was like, you know what, I'm not going to pursue this conversation because I want to actually respect him because I happen to be a fan of a lot of his stuff.
I hate it whenever there's somebody who I respect their opinion on a topic, and then all of a sudden they're into naturalism.
Yeah.
Or holistic therapy or Reiki healing. Eesh.
Crystals or...
You know, crystals are pretty. They're shiny. And yes, there are properties of crystalline structures that allow them to store information. That does not constitute holding it on your chest and aligning your chakras.
Yeah, I even saw, speaking of chakras, I even saw Deepak come out against Donald Trump. And I'm like, holy fuck, I finally agreed with Deepak once.
Well, you know what they say about a broken clock.
Yeah.
No, it's one of those things where it's just like, I see these things in my Facebook feed and I'm just like, I know most people can't be bothered to research what they see before they post it.
Right.
They're busy. Fine. They see a cool headline. They like it. They share it. That's the transaction. I'm just saying, wouldn't it be nice if we could identify these people on Facebook and report them for being the kind of people who just mindlessly share misinformation and then require an attention check for them to continue posting? It's like, it wouldn't be that hard to write some software to scrape the article and be like, is this line in the article? Is this line in the article as an attention check? And, oh no, you failed. You can't post anything for 2 days.
So, by the way, my friend Rachel is listening, and she just said that we're epic, apparently. Rachel, you have very, very low standards.
Epic.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We're sitting in our houses on a Saturday night. So, I don't know. I don't know if we're epic.
Well, it's still a better love story than Twilight.
You know, I'm actually ashamed to say that I did actually watch all 4 of those movies.
So did I.
Granted, it was the riff tracks versions, but you still have to watch the film.
I am not ashamed to admit that I was in my late 20s, early 30s when that whole thing hit. And I have a preponderance for dating younger women, so I kind of ended up going to see them in the theater. And there is actually a scene in the last movie that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Did one of them die?
They all die horribly and violently, but then it turns out to be a dream. And then I was just like, that one guy in the theater going, bullshit.
I have never actually been to see a movie I didn't want to see on a date. Not once.
Well, apparently you have higher standards than I do.
Yeah, I just don't date anymore.
Yeah, I mean, my entire first abomination of a book was all about how I'd get drunk, lower my standards, and hook up with anything that paid attention to me.
Yeah.
And somehow that sold really well.
No, I actually don't think I have that.
You do.
Do I?
You bought it.
Did I?
Yeah, like 5 years ago when I put it out.
I have no recollection of this.
To be fair, both you and I were very chemically enhanced back then.
What do you mean were?
Well, I've not done anything harder than an e-cigarette in more than a year.
And I live in Colorado.
Yeah, but weed isn't a drug. It's a social stimulant.
Still a drug.
Yeah, I mean, it's a drug, but it's like aspirin. It serves a purpose, and it's not going to kill you unless you just like are really stupid and doing something else in the process.
No, that's not necessarily true. I have taken too much aspirin a couple of times, and it does not feel good. It is not pleasant.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I used to chew on aspirin when I drank.
Yeah. Yeah, I was having tooth issues, and for some reason, the only thing that would work was aspirin. Like Aleve and all the heavier drugs, just nothing. Aspirin worked, so I kept chewing it. And yeah, it was not pleasant.
Well,
and Rachel is saying that aspirin can kill a shit ton of people. You know, Rachel, there is on the YouTube channel, there is actually, or on the Google Plus Hangouts or whatever the fuck it is, there is a chat room that you can actually interact with instead of Facebook.
Oh, Jesus.
Where?
Behind the couch where he always is.
Okay, so I need your opinion on something. Okay. What is more of your personal identity? Do you place more value in your politics or in your nerdiness?
Nerdiness all the way.
Well, the reason that I asked is because I started collecting pop vinyls recently because I'm a cliche nerd.
Okay.
And following along. But they released a campaign 2016 set. And I ordered right here. I got the Bernie Sanders one.
Okay.
It's freaking awesome. But it says it's number 3.
So you need number 1 and number 2.
Nerd in me wants to have the set.
Which means you have to buy the Donald Trump and the Hillary Clinton.
Right.
So do it.
But I feel, do I really want them in my house?
Well, see, you can just arrange it like a triangle where the bottom 2 parts equal the top part, and you put those 2 on bottom, stack Bernie on top. There you go.
No, I'll just put them on the on one of the end tables in the living room and just keep a circle of salt around them. So,
yeah. No, see, with politics, if you haven't figured this out yet, I'm a troll when it comes to politics.
Dude, what is there a subject you're not a troll about?
No.
Yeah. Including your accidental Game of Thrones spoilers.
Hey, I am still just floored by that.
So is the only reason you watch that show so you can deliberately spoil it?
Yes.
Have you heard, I was reading there is a service now where you can actually get even with people by signing them up to get text message spoilers of Game of Thrones while it airs. And they can't stop it. And I think I read that every text comes from a different number so that even if they block it, it'll still happen. And it's like constant. It's like a live stream.
Well, see, my favorite is when, because I'll also post fake spoilers. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've posted the status, I can't believe they killed Daryl like that.
You keep getting my hopes up, man, when you post that.
But I was like, I can't believe they killed Hodor like that. It was so sad. And then the next week they kill Hodor, and I'm just like, oh my God, I got one right. And then it's like, did he know? Nope, it's called reading books.
So you've actually read the novels that it's based
I
on?
cheated. They have Cliff's Notes versions.
Yeah. Dude, I've never been a big fan of reading fantasy. Most fantasy authors, in my opinion, tend to be a little bit too verbose.
But I've read like 2 fantasy series that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, both of them got TV shows. Sword of Shannara.
Dude, so at Denver Comic Con, I went to the Manu Bennett had 2 panels, and I actually went to both of them because I was a huge fan of his stuff in Spartacus and in the Hobbit movies. So I just can't bring myself to watch a show on MTV.
You know, I was the same way. It's like, this is MTV. This is going to destroy everything that I love about this series. And then it was good.
One of the panels was him, John Rhys Davies, is that his name? And Terry Brooks, the author of the novels. And I'm just like, when I realize how much story there is to that book series, I'm like, do I really want to take on another story that's potentially that massive?
Well, see, the thing is that they've gotten through like the first part of their TV show. It was well done. I don't know that they're going to continue. Like the other series that was a decent TV series, but the books were even better, was Legend of the Seeker, aka the Sword of Truth series.
Never seen it.
Oh, 2 seasons, good show. Came and went, mid-2000s. But no, when it comes to fantasy, I think it's what it comes down to is most fantasy series, in my opinion, are people writing about their Dungeons and Dragons characters. Because it's obvious. And as a writer, I Mary Sue sometimes with some of my stories. I learn how to see it in others. And I go back and I read a fantasy story and I'm like, oh God, you are sitting at a table with 5 dudes eating Cheetos and drinking Mountain Dew. Anytime the story takes a turn where that you wouldn't have written yourself, that's because the DM fucked you.
So you think they're taking notes during their Dungeons and Dragons campaigns?
Yeah.
And turning that into a script? Yeah, see, when I think fantasy, my all-time favorite fantasy novel is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Gaiman, or however the fuck is pronounced.
Yeah.
But and did you see the footage they released for that series at Comic-Con? Yeah, Starz is producing it. Like they had the full cast there. They're halfway through shooting the season, so they had a decent amount of footage. What's his name? Ian McShane as Mr. Wednesday. Yeah, it looks amazing. It looks like they.
You say Ian McShane, close. And I would watch a TV show that's just him sitting at a table drinking coffee and occasionally going.
And apparently, speaking of Ian McShane, apparently the Deadwood movie is back on at HBO. Well, they are in the process of reviewing, script ideas, apparently. Did you ever watch that at all? It was HBO's Western, and I think it still holds some kind of record for the most use of the word shit.
Like, I remember when it was out and that people were watching it, but at that time in my life, I had a motorcycle, and I didn't spend a lot of time indoors. I was all across the country. Heck, that motorcycle is the reason I wasn't even able to consider going back to Denver until this year.
Yeah, dude, you got to come out here for a visit. Here in the next, I'd say September is usually the best time of year to visit. September, October.
I figured the best time to visit would be January or February.
Why?
Because that was the last time I was in Denver.
Yeah, you can't, if you're coming specifically to enjoy winter weather, you can't really rely on that actually happening if you come here in the winter. We get, what they say, 300 days of sunshine a year. So, yeah, even if we'll have a blizzard and then next day it's gone.
Yeah. See, I was always coming to Denver because I was coming from the north. So it's like, wow, it's not bad here. Because you have the northern plain states, those aren't so bad. But I was coming from the mountains of Montana.
Right.
So it's like, well, I'm going to have to go down in elevation, do.
Yeah.
Which I would live in Montana year round because they have the 60 days of sun and 300 days of, dear God, this is Norse hell. But whereas Denver is a little bit more diverse, a little bit more, open about things.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of.
Well, Denver itself is, and all the surrounding cities, and like I live in Littleton, and there's Highlands Ranch. Highlands Ranch is a little bit more wealthy, a little bit more conservative, but even most of the conservatives here are surprisingly liberal on a lot of social issues.
Well, yeah, see, the thing is Montana only shows up in the news for one of two reasons. So I'm going to be starting a new game later tonight, and I think the rest of the world's going to be going, why?
Dare I ask?
I've downloaded Ingress.
I have no idea what that is.
Okay. It's basically, we want you to go geocache now. Or geocache now. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's the game that the creators of Pokemon Go made before Pokemon Go.
Oh, gotcha. That's why it sounds familiar.
Okay? So, funny story, my phone, I picked it out because it has really awesome system specs, and it's a little mobile computer while I'm on the go. My girlfriend's phone, she got it because it was a Samsung Galaxy, and it was a relatively decent model whenever it came out. Pokemon Go will not run on her phone, but will run on mine. I'm bored with Pokemon Go. I'm sure you've noticed I haven't posted about it lately.
Yeah. I had such a good time razzing you about that shit.
Yeah, it was great, too, because, other people in my comments are getting all butthurt about it. I'm sitting there going, yeah, that's Mark.
I like fucking with your friends because I know you're sitting back there and laughing. I know you are, and I can pretty much say whatever I want. There's some other paid friends that, man, I got to tread on eggshells.
But see, the best part about it is that I think my mother said it best. Mark is really smart and very opinionated. And I'd like talking to him because he's really smart, but I really don't like his opinions.
Why? Because I don't know, man. A lot of the YouTubers I've been watching recently.
To, you know, how do they say? Be a decent person, which I'm not restricted by that.
I have to say that my opinion on a lot of matters is kind of drifting a little bit more to center now.
Yeah, see, I'm actually so left-wing that it's militant. It's like you have the American liberal, which is just a pacifist conservative for the most part. It's like, we don't want this, but we still want this. And then you have me that's like, burn it all to the ground. I say we kill them all and start over. Wait, what?
Hey, at least you're not what I call the regressive. Well, I don't call them, but they're referred to as a regressive left. Because I mean, a lot of this PC culture now, man, it's becoming just as bad as fundamentalist religion. You know, like I encountered a girl right before, I was on the train coming home, and I was just on some news site that some friend commented on, so it showed up in my feed. And she's like, this girl actually said, so you expect us to believe that we can just allow people to say offensive things and get away with it?
Yes.
Yes. And then, but she mentioned freedom of speech in her comment. I forget the exact context, but saying she supported freedom of speech, but we can't allow words I don't like to be said.
Okay. Freedom of expression, because I don't like freedom of speech per se. I know that's how it's written, but in terms of law and culture, it's really freedom of expression is sacrosanct.
Right.
We cannot infringe upon expression.
Short of libel
or
slander
or creating an immediate danger with your expression.
Exactly. Inciting violent acts.
Okay. But at the same time, that falls in line with my criticism of free expression. And that is, you can say whatever you want. You have it within your rights to be libelous, slanderous, or to incite violence. But you should expect reasonable consequence for what you say. You are free to have your opinion. You are not free to have your opinion respected.
Right.
You are free to have your expression, but you're not free to have your expression be considered as equal to another person's expression. We have to allow for the possibility that someone can be wrong or everyone is wrong because nothing is right.
Deep, man.
Or, as I like to say it, it's all bullshit and it's bad for you. We're going to quote St. George for that one.
And what kills me is, like now, apparently, because of these fucktards that the group behind men's right activists, as they're called, okay, there's a lot of confusion now where if you speak out against what I call special snowflakes.
Oh, geez.
If you speak out, you get this hate thrown at you. You're called misogynist. And this is a very boy cried wolf type situation. By saying we live in a rape culture, well, then the word rape becomes meaningless. It's unreal. The shit that I see on YouTube, and what kills me is that there are people out there like Armored Skeptic and Shoe on Head, and people like that on YouTube that are speaking out against these bad arguments and this bad logic.
Yeah.
And they're being labeled these hateful labels.
See, I ride the fence on this one because what it comes down to is if you're making a bad argument, if you're using fallacious thought in order to back up your point, if you are intentionally just using shitty thinking in order to forward your agenda, it doesn't matter how ethically right you are, you're still wrong.
And we have personalities like, have you seen this gender terrorist guy? I guess he calls himself the gender terrorist. Then he says he is a trans non-binary. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, non-binary, not a thing. Okay, there's male, female, trans. That's biology.
Okay, and here's the thing.
I'm not quite done. What you feel like is irrelevant, and then you can't. This is what pisses me off about a lot of it. It's not grammatically right. You can't say trans because what are you transitioning to? You can't claim you have both sex identities and then say you're transitioning from one to the other. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And that's what gets me. It's like one girl called herself asexual. I'm like, really? You reproduce without a partner? Because that's what that word means.
It's like, I'm sure you're familiar with the Have a Gay Day Facebook page.
Yeah.
I got banned from commenting there for about 6 months.
No. Wait, am I supposed to act shocked?
Because I was arguing that asexual, because they were saying that we should include the A in the LGBTQ. And I was saying, no. God, no. We will delegitimize our own movement by including these flaky retards. Because you have gray A. I don't know how familiar you are with asexuals, but here's what a gray A is. Okay? Mm-hmm. It is a person who engages in emotionally romantic relationships and occasionally has sex even though they don't enjoy it. Congratulations, you just described my first marriage.
Wow.
That is not a sexual orientation. That's living in Kentucky. And then you have solid A's, people who have no sexual desire whatsoever. I was like, okay, they have no sexual desire. Are we looking for secondary and tertiary biological reasons that might be anything from a hormone imbalance to a somatoform psychological condition? Is this an illness that can be treated? And if so, why are we glorifying it as a sexual orientation? Because you can give all the testosterone in the world to a gay guy. I know, I produce a lot of it. And I still look at boys and think, hey, pretty. That's how it works. Right. If you are who you are, hormones aren't going to change that. But if you have a medical condition that can be treated, you're not an orientation, you're a symptom. That's my view of asexuality.
I see these people, and the reason that I started to mention that gender terrorist guy is he's the one that said, in one video I saw, he said that my preferred pronouns are mandatory. And the first thing that I thought of is we've all had that one friend that after we've known them for like 5-6 years, they decide they want a nickname and they pick it themselves. And then they get mad at you when you don't call them by that nickname and you're just thinking you're a fucking douchebag. Okay?
And see, the thing is, I have a lot of people, and I say a lot because I think I'm a magnet at this point, a lot of people that I interact with that are in transition. Whether it be male to female or female to male, they're going to their therapy appointments that are state mandated. They're getting the hormones. They're transitioning into their new name, their new life, living as their new gender. And these are my trans friends. And I have the utmost respect for them. I don't personally identify with what they're going through, but I can at least empathize.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm the same way. I don't want to present myself as intolerant because I'm not. I am, and it kills me that you can't use this word anymore thanks to these MRA fucktards. You can't say you're an egalitarian. That word is now tied.
You can't because.
And I'm like,
and if he's watching right now, I'm sorry, but I have a buddy named Alex, and Alex, aside from having some religious beliefs that I find just completely Looney Tunes, is a very intelligent person, if not a little bit, self-absorbed. Okay? And he just doesn't get that the longer and longer that he argues against these certain things while calling himself an egalitarian, the more he delegitimizes anything that he says, because without realizing it, he's putting himself in the same boat as these MRA fucktards.
And what kills me is that a lot of the things that the MRA people are angry about there are actual real issues that should be addressed, and how we deal with certain issues, like how we don't take the fact that there are male victims of domestic violence. We don't take that seriously. There's almost no funding given to these organizations. They don't exist in
I
a
will
lot
give
of
that
parts of the
credit
country.
where it's due. This is true.
But
at the same time, I have to sit here and go, who cares? Like, I get it. There are serious issues that men face in our society. And there are disadvantages that we have. But at the same time, the amount of privilege that we enjoy by simply of being our gender in our society is enough that the whole system itself is flawed, and focusing on either gender exclusively is pointless.
Exactly. And I do take do take exception to your claim of how did you phrase it?
Who gives a shit?
But it all depends on what kind of statistics you look at too, man. If men, when it comes to being out in public at night, are statistically much more likely to be a victim of violent crime, not rape, but violent crime. So
yeah.
And that's the type of thing that gets swept under the table when you focus on one gender. I'm not saying we shouldn't. We need to focus on fixing the goddamn human race. That's what we need to focus on fixing, because they're human issues. We need to stop saying, well, this is a women's issue. No, it's not. Abortion is a human issue. Are we going to allow the government to take away our bodily autonomy? Yes or no?
Because the minute it becomes acceptable to overturn Roe versus Wade and overturn the right to access to abortion, the minute they can say you can't have a vasectomy because that goes against God's plan.
Right.
The minute they get to say, well, these foods lower your sperm count, so you can't eat them. It's a very silly kind of thing to propose right now, but it's the flip side of that coin. If you won't accept it for yourself, then you can't expect it for someone else.
Exactly.
Now, when it comes to these trans people, though, what it comes down to is you have the actual people who are going through transition,
right.
The people who are questioning that. I go by it this way. If you're experiencing gender dysphoria, whether you've acted upon it or not, in my book, you're a trans person. You have my support and respect as you need it. You're over here.
Well, that's kind of the one required qualifier to be trans. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you act on it, if you take hormones, it doesn't matter.
You have the dysphoria.
If you have gender dysphoria, you are trans.
Okay. Then you have the people who, I logged into Tumblr and saw all of these really nifty new terms and all of these really nice people huddled around each other. So I'm going to dye my hair pink and talk about how triggered I am.
You know what Tumblr is? Okay, if the world is a rave, Tumblr is the cuddle puddles.
So true. So true. Oh, God. So I used to date this girl, and for the sake of anonymity, we're going to call her Jane. And Jane was a hetero-flexible, demisexual, genderqueer, non-binary.
Otherkin?
No, She did not complete the set. Though it is because of one of her friends that I have the line, I'm a trans bananakin, and if you don't respect my species, then you're a cis-species shitlord.
Dude, I won't even acknowledge that word cis. I won't. I reject it.
I have a small problem with it, but I'm not as about it anymore. Whenever I was first exposed to it, I was like, do you not understand how intentionally divisive and demeaning that is to somebody? I get it. You're a marginalized group, and that this is something that you need to establish your own identity. But then by assaulting people who aren't going through this with a word that is meant to demean and be condescending to them, you're not making equality. You're trying to set yourself apart as superior. Congratulations, you're a glorified David Duke in a dress.
I don't know. The way I see it, and my objection to it at its core, is we need to stop adding labels to divide us, to differentiate between us. I saw a really good interview where somebody actually asked Morgan Freeman what his thoughts were on the whole Black Lives Matter movement. And he says, why are we still talking about race? Why is that something we talk about? Why do we allow it
I
to
disagree with Morgan Freeman on that one, though, because it comes down to this. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have to be having this discussion anymore.
Then why can't we try and have a perfect world?
We can try, and I would love to work towards that. But at the same time, we live in a society where you've heard what they chant at Trump rallies.
Right. And our political problem right now is this country has lost its sense of optimism. They have. Because we're so divided now. We see each other by our own little groups. We're liberal or we're conservative. We're gay or we're straight. We're cis or we're trans. We need to knock that shit off, man.
So I guess that puts me in my own camp.
How so?
Contrarian leftist pansexual artist. Yep. I'm going to have to go sit with like the 3 other people who can describe themselves that way.
I'm another kin, man. I identify as an asshole.
Yeah. No. See, I used to identify as an asshole, but then I realized I was a bit of a cunt.
I love using that word, and I like that it hits so hard in some contexts.
It's like the funniest thing is that the only people I've ever met that are offended by the usage of the word cunt are cunts. So a billion people, male, female, whatever, who you say bitch, and they're like, yeah, whatever. But you call somebody a cunt. It's like my buddy Ryan, he lives over in England. I call him a cunt every time I talk to him. He's like, sod off, you bloody cunt.
Yeah, my buddy Lloyd lives over there, and hoping to have him on the podcast soon, actually. He's got this really cool website he's trying to get off the ground that I kind of want to talk to him about. It's like a living history kind of thing. I don't really know how to describe it, but that word comes up quite a bit over there. But my favorite retort to when somebody gets offended by me using the word, I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm such a dick. And on that note, man, I think I am about ready to call this broadcast a night.
Okay, yeah.
I am kid-free for the next 4 days. 4 days. I'll be back
enjoy yourself. I'm going to sit here, smoke cheap e-cigarettes, and sit here and really, really resist the urge to, drive outside of my budget tomorrow to another town and watch Suicide Squad.
It's worth it, dude. I actually got up to catch a 9:55 a.m. showing.
Well, see, here's
just
the
to
thing.
catch the $6 price.
To give you an idea of where I am right now, there is not a Walmart in my county.
Oh fuck.
Okay, in my county there is one McDonald's, and it closes at 10.
All I'm gonna say, man, is I'll have a room for rent in this condo in June. Just throwing that out there.
Yes, I would consider it if I wasn't bringing my girlfriend along.
She's welcome.
Yeah, getting her transferred to a college out there, though, that would be a pain in the ass.
We got like 8 in the metro area alone.
Yeah, but financial aid has been an issue with her.
Got it.
Because luckily she has like a full ride, scholarship for academic, but financial aid on top of that, it's been a pain in the ass.
All right, man.
We live so far from anywhere that we have to drive for 20 minutes to go to a decent store, and we have to drive to it for an hour before we see a Starbucks.
Well, that's a good thing.
We have to drive for an hour before we see a restaurant that isn't McDonald's or Burger King or a country home cooking place.
Jesus, man.
Like, to go to Denny's, we have to drive for 25, 30 minutes. And that's just because we lucked out and they built this interstate through our part of the state, and there's an exit there, and they thought to build a Denny's. So, whenever I say I have to go on a trip to go see a movie, it's like I have to go the distance between, 2 major cities to go see something. It's actually easier for me to go to Indianapolis than it is to go to some of the neighboring towns.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to live less than 2 miles from the closest Alamo Draft House, the only one in the state. And
Yeah, I know.
I love that, dude. You have no idea. If you come out and visit, I've got to take you to that place, man. You should try and plan. They do the Mile High Horror Film Festival there every October.
See, October's a no-go. I'm booked through the rest of the year on my big trips.
Mhm.
Next year, though, oh man, next year I'm going to be busy. Denver would probably happen next year, especially if Tool's going back on tour. And they have.
They're coming. Actually, they're coming this fall, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss it.
Oh, what's messed up, man? Right now, less than 3 miles from my house, Weird Al is performing.
Oh Jesus!
He's playing at this place called Hudson Gardens, which is like a garden, basically a big outdoor thing.
I mean, back when I was living in Nashville, it was a little painful because of who was coming there all the time.
Yeah, but there's a bike trail that leads right behind it. That's part of a park that's open to the public, and you can actually go and sit right next to the fence and hear everything. So it's already almost 10 though, so I seriously doubt he's still going.
Yep, he's got to get in bed early.
No, they have weird. I live in Littleton, which is a very, very baby boomer part. Yeah, I got some cool neighbors, I do, but there's a lot of old people here too, and they go to bed early.
Well, you've got to go, and I've been holding a leak for the last hour, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop off here. You have a good night, and we'll do this again whenever you have the time.
Yeah, I was thinking about trying to get it in at least once every weekend. So,
all right, I'll see what I can do.
Okay, well, just let me know.
All right, talk to you later, bro.
All right, man.